Hello and welcome to the first episode of It's Just That Simple. This is a podcast where we make the complicated simple. Throughout the days, throughout our lives, we have all these ideas of what makes living realistic, what makes living seem just right and perfectly fit, perfectly actualized, perfectly refrained. And refrained, two different words, that gives us sometimes this perception that we can make our lives this perfectly curated idea, but sometimes it's not coming from the true nature of reality, the true nature of our being. How can we hold hands with each other with the actuality, the actuality of freeness, freeness to love, freeness to exist, freeness to be, freeness to breathe, freeness just to say that I can live simply. This episode is talking about two words, realistic and unsystematic. The two words that I hold dearly, these kind of reframed in my mind a couple days ago. I was telling one of my beautiful friends that she knows who she is. Shout out Bianca, bitch! Bianca. But as I was doing that, and I was telling a beautiful friend again, Faithy, Faithy Rizzle, to the beautiful loves of my life. I was telling one conversation today and had one epiphany moment with a conversation the other day. And I was sitting there for a little backstory. I was sitting there waking up from my bed. Nice riveting. The nice blinds and shades beautifully closed. They have the black lit curtains. So it's like no sunshine coming to me to wake my ass up. I want to be relaxed. I want to be rejuvenated in my being. So waking up, okay, let me check my phone. First, had to actualize. I asked myself, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? I asked myself, how am I feeling? I feel good. I feel this. It's before I want to absorb everything, before I want to really take these feelings, these moments, everything into account of how I want to feel and how everybody else is feeling. How am I feeling? So first I checked that. And then after that, I was like going on my phone and was like, okay, I want to go on Hinge. You know, the dating app where it's meant to be deleted. Meant to be deleted. And I was like, let me go search and search. I want to place myself in London. First, I was watching, what is it? What is the show? I know the show. What is the show? Heartstopper, this beautiful, loving LGBTQ, wonderful teen romance that I just love on Netflix. The second season came out just a couple days, August 3rd. I was like, feeling very, very romantic. But not even just the romance of romance, it was the romance of self, understanding because Venus is in Leo, and understanding the relationships to self, the relationships to love, relationships to life, relationships to how I relate to everything in my life. And so I was like, let me go on Hinge. Let me place myself in London. I want to feel enthralled in something. I've been having conversations where I want to feel enthralled. I want to be deep depth into the idea of life. Marvel in the sense of arts. Marvel in the sense of just being and existing as me. And so as I was feeling and all going through those things, I was like, let me place my location in London. Maybe I can connect with someone in London because it doesn't have to be always romantic. It can just be a connection. So I was like, let me place myself in there. And as I was about to place myself there, I had a thought process, two different thought processes, two valid, two actualized, two of my being, two different versions. I always get this thought as those two processes happen, but I'll explain that in a little bit. As I was trying to move my location to London town, London town, my mind said, well, that's not realistic. And right before I felt okay. Felt like a conversation I was having, but I wasn't part of it. But I was just observing it, listening to it. I was like, that's not realistic. And then right there to rebuttal. My being said and answered, and then this is where I come in, where it says my being usually comes into times where it knows me, knows more than what I choose to believe about myself. The ever-present knowing, awareness of how much I'm loved, how much I'm safe, how much life is simple, the simply simple. And it said, well, it's not realistic, it's unsystematic. I was like, okay. What does that mean? Because obviously you know something that I don't know, but I do know at the same time. I was like, let me go look on Google, on Googleette. And I was like, okay, let me look up unsystematic. Do. Looked at unsystematic and it says, what is the meaning of unsystematic? It says, not a fixed plan, unorthodox, and as well as something that has not been done before, a different way, a different system, a different way of doing, being, living. And then I was like, okay, I felt that. I was like, wow, my awareness, me. I know me even when I think I don't know me. And I think that a lot of us relate to that in different ways. I know me more than I think I do. I love me more than I think I believe. And so I was like, oh, okay. Felt that. Let me look up realistic, because I like to see the humanistic ideas that we have been conformed to believe of what each and every single thing means. And so I was looking at realistic. I was like, okay, so realistic, it says that it's a plan, something proven, something that has provided answers, and pragmatic. And I was like, oh, wow. So the way, since we're all talking about, Leo and Venus and understanding our relationships with self, but also this is a bigger scheme of relationship of how we love ourselves. How do we love ourselves properly? So the way that I love myself is unsystematic, meaning not fixed, not planned, lived in and experienced, personally perceived, individually. So something I was trying to make extra goddamn complicated is not that complicated. Okay. Step back, sat there, talked to my mom about it. We got epiphanies. We felt really good, and woo, now we're here. And as this episode is about realistic and unsystematic, I want to bring it to a point that unsystematic and realistic is part to our daily lives. How can we love ourselves without a fixated idea of what love is? How can we love each other? How can we give? How can we reciprocate? How can we exude in life without the realistic idea of what we think that how we're supposed to be living it? How we're supposed to be living within it? How are we supposed to be loving ourselves and loving everyone in it? How can we coexist unsystematically? And I think that's what brings us into this podcast, the start of this first episode, because unsystematic love, energy, it asks more of ourselves. It asks more of each other. It asks more of how we want to be loved. It takes a timed effort and awareness. It takes us to marinate in our own beings to understand that how we love has to be self-created, not self-prophesized by other ways of other people loving ourselves, or other ways of how people have loved themselves before. Not things that we see on Instagram as they're beautiful, wonderful insights of just saying, this is how you love yourself. You should not accept this if you don't love this. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do this. This is what you should tolerate. This is what you shouldn't. As everyone is a beautiful beacon of love and we learn from each other, we must know how to love ourselves first. We must know how to have an unsystematic love of our own, our way. I know it's always been seen, always been done in certain ways of how we're saying that. What's our way? What does it mean to do things your way? What does it mean to breathe, move, exist, do, shine, dress, love your way? Well, it's just like, don't you just have to love? Does it have to be appreciation? Does it have to be consideration? Yes. But how do you do it? And that can feel a little bit puzzling. It's like, what do you mean, how do I do it? What does it mean that my way of loving? Well, if you pay attention, everyone has their own particular way of loving. It could be a lack of love. It could be a plethora of so much enormous, just swallows you up type of love. But how do we love better? How do we love with more awareness of the way that we love? Being unsystematic of how we truly care for ourselves. It asks us, how can we care for others without the proven prophecy of how we loved ourselves? Juicy. Without the proven prophecy saying, this is how it's always been done, because this is all I know. This is all I'm willing to know. This is all I'm willing to consider. This is all I'm willing to breach. To break those territories of what I know. And it can feel frightening. It can feel like, what can I do with this? Because I don't know what's here. And that's what the unknown is. The only thing that is certain, that life is uncertain. And loving yourself comes with the complete uncertainty that you will constantly change how you love yourself. The code that you write between you and life will constantly change. It will constantly ask for a password update. It will constantly ask you to say, check again. How did you love yourself in the past? Because I realize as well, how you love yourself then may not be the same way of how you can apply to love yourself now, even if both were valid, even if both were there to protect, love you. Sometimes protection is the thing that keeps away love. Sometimes protection protects us in a season, protects us in our own personal wars, our own personal fights with self, to love ourselves, the battles that we have to contend to get to the parts of ourselves, our heart that says that you can be lovable, that you are enough. There is nothing wrong with you, period. You are loved, you are accepted for that, end quote. And accepting that there is nothing wrong with you and that you're perfect and beautiful is something that is truly innate of you. Then you go into more like beautiful waves of wondering what's down in your own personal labyrinths. What's happening within your own personal ways of knowing who you are. And when you can sometimes contend with trying to contain constantly this love, this persevering love, and we all have that persevering love. For example, I do this because this is how I love myself. I do this type of thing. I say these type of affirmations. I set these type of boundaries because this is how I love myself. Okay. So this is how you love yourself, this kind of ritualistic idea, this realistic, proven notion that it can't be molded and loved and changing and shifting. We have to perform these type of dances and tasks to support that love. But how can we release that idea that being loved takes something that is exercised, that loving others takes something that is exercised. It takes time to figure out. And that's what I'm saying. Stop trying to find the proven written formula of how you love and figure it out. Day, moment, month, second by second, moment by moment, to figure out how you love yourself. There is no set tone other than love. There is no set way other than I want to love. I have the will to love. The way is love, but also done in my way. And that's how this podcast will be breaching on this throughout the rest of the episodes. How can we go throughout life unsystematically? How can we go throughout life, throughout loving ourselves, with the unsystematic rituals of being ever changing, of releasing, contracting, relaxing, and reframing what love means to us, what love means to me, what love means to you, what love means to the person next to you, what love means to the individual you're in a relationship with, what love means to the partner, the friendship. I was just having a beautiful conversation with my beautiful friend Faith. And she said, this feels like a partnership. Because it is. Because it is. How can we sustain, conserve, and cultivate love in an unsystematic way? How can we exercise that in our daily life? How can we exercise that in the systems, in the ways, in the stigmas, in the ideals, in these conforms, in these constructions of reality, of these systems that really do not favor anyone? But how can we do it unsystematically where it favors how individually we each love with the mission to love? So whenever time that you sense that you're being too realistic about what makes you you, what makes life life, what makes up everything, ask yourself, how can I see this unsystematically? How can I breathe into myself unsystematically? How can I love this person unsystematically? How can I do it in a way where it has not been done before, but is continuously choosing to be better? Choosily continuing to see someone fully for not what has been proven to us based off our own personal perceptions, based off our own sense of insights of what we try to connect data to in our minds, a little frontal cortex, that little baby. And how can we start to stop trying to have this recognizing cognition of what it is to live and to see someone and to love someone? And we're going to be breaking down what love is, breaking down simply the patterns, the pressures, the perceptions, the pain it is to hold us to this type of weight, this complication that we hold ourselves to, that but also we hold everyone else to. How can we break it down layer by layer? And that's what we're going to be doing, layer by layer, with each episode, with different topics, different waypoints, different reasons of where we can look, turn our heads, focus our eyes, open our minds to ways of how we can unsystematically breathe, hold, feel safe in life. Simply. We all want a simple life. But how can we bring simple solutions, simple reasonings, simple loving tactics, simple loving wills and awareness to our everyday practice, that we can create that simple life with simplicity and less complication? So, if you want to stay tuned to understand the different woes and waves and moves of everything, of how we can gain each other's hearts, gain each other's trust, our safety, where we can look each other, we can see someone, not a stranger, but someone as part of who we are, one in one, holding hand, guiding and leading each other home towards one of a safe place to live, a safe place to be, live, and hold ourselves, even in ourselves, even in our minds, even in our hearts. And that's what we'll be discussing. I'm so excited. I am so excited. I'm so excited. Hopefully I'm not blowing out my mic as I say I am so excited. I don't know further if we will have guests on the show for this season. Maybe, maybe not, because I love perspectives. I love perceptions. I love feeling transparent with the co-conspirator, co-contributor of how I can practice my love with other people. The person of people that I can constantly hold and be held accountable of how we can love each other better and bring in different perspectives of how maybe the way I love can branch out more based off how they love. And isn't that the point? To not be always right. So I'm going to end it here. And I love you, babies. I don't have a set schedule yet, but I'll find one. I'll find one. Maybe do it all in a batch, or maybe happen every single, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't know. But I do want to do it at least twice a week. I get it. I think maybe twice or 3 times, or whenever I feel like talking, God damn it. Whenever I feel like talking and communicating and saying what I feel like I want to say. So I love you. Please keep on allowing life to be simple. Simply you. Allow life to be simply you and simple. And I'll see you in the next episode.